Welcome back to 80 Days. My name is Dr. Nought, and we are in Warsaw. And when we last left off, we were going to go to Moscow. Leaves tomorrow at 3 p.m. It's only day 8, and we're already in Warsaw. How fantastic. We'll get to Moscow by day 10. So, let's spend the night in Warsaw. Or it'll be day 11 when we get to Moscow. We walk the streets of Warsaw, feeling the air of a different continent all around. In less than 2 generations, the Tsars had made up this little outpost all their own. There were signs of dissent. There were the signs of dissent on every corner. For on every building project in the city, there was glued pamphlets declaring the Russians to be dogs, fiends, and Philistines. Walked further, however, and saw no disturbances. It seems all the revolutionary types have been rounded up and shot. Oh, in fact, our hostilier told us later that the pamphlets themselves are produced by machines, buried by the rebels during the Troubles. No one has yet found them to switch them off. Whoa. I'll trouble you not to play that Demian accordion in my presence again. Okay. When does this leave? 3 p.m. We have time to explore. Good, good, good. Did it just get more expensive? I don't even know. Alright, we got Warsaw to Stockholm, Stockholm to Helsinki, Helsinki to St. Petersburg. That doesn't matter to us. Going out in the day, I encountered an incredible creature as tall as a house. Wide, swinging metal arms, like a rampaging giant. I fled, running like a wild and crazy thing until I was thoroughly lost. Great. I didn't lose this time, though. Good. Let's get out of here. We're gonna go to Moscow on the Belarus Express. The fastest way to go. Oh my gosh. Got very expensive, but look at this. Cold weather. We're not gonna lose a single heart. Let's go. We clambered aboard the train. Monsieur Fogg settled in a far corner like a dusty old uncle, and I pressed my nose against the glass, watching the bleak countryside roll past. Trains are such marvelous contraptions. I could have been an engine driver myself, I think, if it wasn't such a dreadfully dirty job. A life of coal, scuttles, and engine grease. Mon Dieu. Your character is now courageous. Cool. He's at 96, we don't have to worry about him. Let's converse. Greetings, Monsieur Krasovkin. Good evening, man of France. Let's learn about... We know that it connects there. Moscow to Karamskaya. Speaking of trains, I understand Herat can be reached from Tehran aboard the Kamartaj. Well, tell us more about Herat. Did you know some buyers will pay well for magnifying glasses from Herat? How about Herat to Quetta? I believe so. One can drive in a hired palanquin from Herat to Quetta, but the journey is a tiring one. Let's give him some apples. Sounds wonderful. Let's learn more about Quetta. I'm told the quickest way to Quetta from here is through Astrakhan. And Quetta to Agra? I don't know, but the fastest way to Agra from here is through Omsk. Okay, okay. About Quetta to Kabul. I'm afraid I have to go now. Okay, fine. Goodbye. So we know Herat to... Quetta to Lahore. Alright, so we're gonna get to Minsk here. We arrived at Minsk after nightfall and watched as people hurried from the train. Yeah, we're not gonna leave, we're gonna keep going. Into the dark and cold streets. Monsieur Fogg held his teacup close and I huddled beneath a blanket. At least for tonight we were safe. Let's keep going. Oh, I didn't get a chance to click on that. Okay, now we can... Greetings, mademoiselle. Good evening. Let's do, Moscow to Ussurisk. I hear that some buyers will pay well for magnifying glasses from Ussurisk. Okay. Ussurisk to Beijing. We're trying to connect routes that we, know. Probably, but the quickest way to Beijing from here is via Irkutsk. Okay. How about Ussurisk through Krasnovodsk? I wish I knew, but there is neither bank nor market in Krasnovodsk. Apples? What a marvelous idea. Let's learn more about Beijing. I hear there are no airships allowed in Beijing. Oh, see, that's good to know. Beijing to Pangsao Pass. That seems quite impossible to me, really. Beijing to Salt Lake City? No way. Have you heard that some buyers will pay well for accordions from Salt Lake City? Goodbye. Beijing to Salt Lake City, that would be a crazy journey. Morning came and we were still crossing the Russian countryside. Train moving on its slow and steady way. I spent the time waiting on my master's needs. Yeah, give him some help there. And I saw the color return from his cheeks as I worked. Finally, we pulled into the stone edifice that was Moscow Station and disembarked. Some of our possessions can be sold here, eh? Let's check it out. We have a pocket altimeter. That's good for if we ever travel by air. Well, it's only fetching 220 pounds anyway. What about this magnifying glass? 130? Sure, I have no reason to keep it. So what do we have here? A top hat, a fine Bond Street top hat lined with deep black plush. Gentleman. Oh, that goes with the gentleman's wardrobe there. Yeah, let's get that. There, now we're 2 for 2. Wait. Not crap. Gentleman traveler. Whatever. Cold compress. A cool compress, perfect for soothing aching muscles. Part of the rest and recuperation set. Salve of arnica. Healing, salve, tired joints and bones, and false passport. A forged Englishman's passport in the name of Jack Passenger. Ooh. Let's grab that. Let's grab all these things. Thank you. Kremlin Plaza. In the shadow of the magnificent Kremlin, a few stalls stand in the snow. Our completed physical restorative set should protect against strenuous conditions like this blowing snow we can hear. Let's see what we can do, where we can go. Holy moly. So we could go... We can get all the way to Karamskaya in 3 days? Oh my god, minus 56? Oh, it departs in 3 days. How long does it take, though? Can we... That's so expensive, too. Arrives next Thursday, arrives next Tuesday. Oh, so it only takes like 5 days. Or we can go... So this takes 5 days, this takes 14? But it's a lot slower. This is 1600. Look at that. So we could go here. So let's think about it. 1600 arrives next Saturday. Oh, we have to negotiate it down. Fur coat from our Russian gentleman's wardrobe, spur them on. Alright, sure. Little encouragement is required. We can make it 650 tomorrow. Oh crap, we did it for this one, right? For this one. This one I think is the best deal. 790 tomorrow. Plus another... Alright, let's do that. We're going to Karamskaya, okay? Tomorrow at 11 a.m. Back to Moscow. Karamskaya, remember that. Moscow was not a comfortable city for a Frenchman. A local composer had just written a piece people were calling the 1812 Overture, commemorating the Russian victory over Napoleon's invading Grand Army in that fateful year. Patriotic passions were at fever pitch. So I stayed very sensibly indoors. Alas, my friends, my solitude was quickly interrupted by an officious rap on the door. Two men in clothes so plain that they were most certainly police officers invited themselves in. What? The new Tsar was a paranoid sort, so it was said. Who could blame him, having personally witnessed his father's assassination as a young man? My luck, it seemed, had deserted me, so I resolved to make my own. They asked me my name and purpose, and I lied audaciously and wildly, playing the part of a hapless Bavarian nobleman, complete with conjured accent and peremptory gesticulation. They interrupted my theatrics with a sniff. You are most insolent servant. You are lucky that they have already spoken with your master, Господин Fogg, and he has satisfied us. They proceeded to rummage through our cases, tossing our possessions in all directions, but evidently finding nothing of interest. Do not stay in Moscow too long. Russian air does not suit Frenchmen. I took their warning to heart and quite looked forward to departing the Tsarist capital. We are well heeled again. Alright, so we have to leave, I think it's at noon, right? Go to this one. Oh god, this is gonna be so expensive. These at 11 a.m. Alright, we have to go. We can't. Alright, we've got the fur coat from our Russian gentleman's wardrobe. It's gonna offset this by a lot. So let's go. This is gonna be a long trip. Trans-Siberian Express. The bell in the stuccoed and whitewashed Moscow station gave its third and final clang, and the platform erupted into frenzy. We boarded calmly, and found ourselves in a small cabin with heated water, and even a shaving mirror. Your character is now zestful. Greetings, Madame Pavlichenko. May I see your ticket? How I despise this job. Let's see, Karaminskaya to Vladivostok. Incredible. One can also travel this way to Vladivostok, I understand. Incredible, yeah, she's not impressed. Vladivostok to Hong Kong. No idea, but I do know some buyers will pay well for pocket altimeters from Hong Kong. That's fine. Vladivostok to Honolulu? Talk a lot, don't you? Crap. That would have been helpful to know, because we're gonna get stuck at the end of this continent here. We were away! I remember... Oh, let's see. I remembered the advice from the man on the train to Warsaw, that the Trans-Siberian was capable of higher speeds than it was admitted, and determined to find my way to the engine car to talk to the driver. I suggested a wager, and the man's eyes narrowed. What sort of wager? I don't believe the tracks are suitable for modern transport, I declared. I believe this train travels so slowly because of it. Slowly? The driver choked. My good little Frenchman, do not think you realize how fast we can go. Then you must show me. The driver stared at me, then shook his head. I work as I am told to work, he said. I cannot risk the displeasure of the Tsar for you. My bed that night swayed along with the motion of the train. From Moscow to Karaminskaya was a journey of over 5,000 miles, and we had only just begun. Yeah, taking a train 5,000 miles would be insane. Greetings, Monsieur Dagostin. Let us share a glass of wine together, Monsieur. Good. Karaminskaya to Ussurisk. You mentioned trains. I've been told my friend always wanted to take the Transcontinental Express from Salt Lake City to Omaha. Oh, good. Piece of information. Ussurisk to Pyongyang? No idea, but you can pick up magnifying glasses in Pyongyang and sell them for a profit in Singapore. Fantastic. Ussurisk to Honolulu. My good man, you can pick up revolvers in Honolulu. Extremely valuable in New Orleans. Goodbye. San Francisco, here we go. Salt Lake City to Cheyenne to Omaha to Burlington. Our fellow passengers were a mix of convicts, political radicals, prospectors, businessmen, and military officers. In the midst of this was a young lady, Rosa, wearing a bored expression as she was harangued by her formidable maman. I made her acquaintance. Only too easily. She was desperate for a sympathetic ear and told me her great secret. She had fallen in love with a peasant boy in 4th class called Jack, by which I understood that they had shared a glance of extreme passion in the baggage car. Oh, to be so young again. I resolved to keep an eye on their burgeoning locomotive romance. Across the Volga, in the early afternoon, crawling slowly over a bridge perched on high stone pillars. It was a muddy, sluggish river, clogged with floating islands of rafts and large steamers bound for the Caspian Sea. I could just hear the lilting, rhythmic, oar-beating songs of the Volga boatmen over the whistle of steamboats. Converse! Greetings, Monsieur Nicholson. Now then, Passpartout. Let's see, Karaminskaya to Ussurisk. Speaking of trains, I understand New Orleans is linked to New York aboard the Piedmont Airline. It's a train or a plane? Can we ask about that? Yeah, New York. Let me tell you, some buyers will pay well for false passports from New York. Now tell me now, is this train going to Moscow? No. We're heading east. Oh dear, so much for our westward trip around the world. What? Nonetheless, I've heard Lake Baikal is lovely at this time of year. Oh yeah, that's up in Russia, isn't it? Alright, New York to... I wonder why one's yellow, one's... and the rest are white. New York to Winnipeg. No idea, but the quickest way to Winnipeg from here is via Vladivostok. Oh, perfect. Vladivostok. Vladivostok is the home of the Russian Pacific Fleet. Maybe if we ask the white ones, we can actually... I've gathered you can get to Beijing from Vladivostok aboard the Jiangqing, but the fare is very high. They say Empress Cixi prefers her automatons to be decorative. I think yellow is going to end the conversation. Let's see. Beijing to Canton. All I know is this. Canton was once the only Chinese port open to foreigners. Goodbye. Okay, so I think yellow ends the conversation. We didn't get any routes from that? I thought we gained some routes. Ekaterinburg. We crossed the Urals today. At the risk of sounding like a jaded traveler, I must admit that they are hardly magnificent. A heaving up of earth and forested hills for a few hundred miles. We stopped for an hour at Ekaterinburg, where I spotted the young lady, slipping off to 4th class. Her worried mama followed soon after, demanding whether anyone had seen her daughter Rosa. I made an excuse for Rosa, gesturing discreetly in the direction of the lavatories. They were mixed-sex conveniences, and a cause of much inconvenience, truth be told. Her maman was convinced, and settled down to her luncheon with gusto. Rosa returned a half-hour hence, cheeks flushed but otherwise unharmed. She cast me a grateful glance. I could only hope her little amour would not blossom into outright scandal. Yeah. That could happen. Alright, now we're going to Omsk. Let's converse. Greetings, Rosa. Oh. Have you ever been in love, monsieur? I'm not going to answer that. Kermeskaya. Kermeskaya is a junction for trains into China. Good to know. Kermeskaya to Vladivostok. On the subject of trains, I've heard Houston can be reached from Cheyenne aboard the Houston and Texas Railroad. Vladivostok to Beijing. On the subject of boats, I've heard you can get to Port Royal from Port-au-Prince aboard the Hispaniola. That's more about Port Royal. I think it's true that the quickest way to Port Royal from here is through Panama City. Now let's ask about Panama City. And they say that some buyers will pay well for accordions from Panama City. Alright, what do we got? Cheyenne to Houston, right? Dallas to Houston, rather. Port-au-Prince to Port Royal. That's a great route. Time on board trains takes a meditative quality. I visited the library car and met Goland, and the daughter of the Mongol chieftain, who was poring over a thick volume of algebra. I lamented my lack of mathematical skill. Aloud, and she laughed. I must study algebra if I am to be an engineer in the Imperial Army of Russia. I wish to leave behind my ancestors' warrior past. But you have a glorious history, I replied aghast. Roland turned a page. A glorious history for men, for war. I'm going to make my own history. She folded the book close. You have traveled, monsieur. They call us barbarians, don't they? She asked. They do. I agreed, but they would not if they saw you studying. She leaned forward, eyes shining. The truth is, there's more going on in my country than most outsiders know. We are growing fast as a people. You mean territorial expansion? I asked a trifle nervously. She leant back sharply, as though stung. You are as bad as them all, she declared. You think us nothing but Genghis Khan's minions. I tried to dissuade her of the idea, but she would not relent. I had the idea of making her a gift, but nothing suitable presented itself. So in the end, I bid her farewell and returned to the more stable company of Monsieur Fogg. Let's shave Fogg, and there he goes. +5. Omsk today, we decanted a full score of British, Dutch, and German merchants, and took on more military officers, who cleared an entire first-class carriage for the use of a mysterious couple. I caught a glimpse of the woman behind the bristle of bayonets. I was fairly overset with curiosity, but it would be several days before I encountered the couple again. On the Times, Moscow police query mysterious Frenchman. Don't know anything about that. Rosa absconded once again, and her mother caused quite a ruckus in the breakfast car. Apparently, the girl is affianced to a rich, rather stiff-looking German merchant who boarded at Omsk. I predicted this comedy of errors will come to no happy end. As the sun set over the taiga, Monsieur Fogg expressed a mild boredom with the monotonous view from the carriage windows. My own rather more dire feelings may be extrapolated from this foggish understatement. Uh-oh, something's going down. There's that massive lake. Okay, couldn't get to that. I have to click those fast. What's going on in the news? Oh, we crossed the halfway mark of our journey today. In the morning, we wound up the Angara Valley towards the mining camp of Irkutsk, the great city of Siberia. I saw Golan disembarking with her suitcase of books, and, forgive me, I hid. She met a man on the platform, an uncle perhaps, who scooped her up with great familiarity and led her away to a horse, parked neatly in the yard beyond. We waited while the luggage was unloaded by the leisurely porters and rough-clad moujiks, while the whistle blew and the train's engines wound up once more. Our journey continued, and by afternoon we had reached the magnificent expanse of Lake Baikal, as clear as the finest crystal, bounded by flower-banked cliffs on the western shore and containing a thriving, raucous population of freshwater seals. The track ended at the lake's edge, but the great train showed no signs of slowing or stopping. I began to feel, as my master would say, a little perturbed. Now, my friends, this next sentence will seem to you the invention of a madman. But I assure you, it is utter, unvarnished truth. We drove straight from the shore onto the clear water of the lake, causing barely a ripple. I looked out of the compartment window and saw the wheels pulled up, and zoo alors, the train was hovering in the air through some unseen mechanism. I looked for the tracks. I could only just see them against the gleam of the lake. They were cunningly built upon pontoons which only just broke the surface of the water, but we did not touch them. What sort of train was the Trans-Siberian? Phileas Fogg attempts round-the-world adventure, they find out after 18 days of us on this trip. I contrived a meeting with the mysterious couple, though to be strictly accurate, I knocked over the red-haired woman, entirely accidentally. She was very game about the whole unfortunate incident and introduced herself as Madame Ksenia Petrovna Volkova. I offered to buy her tea as recompense. She accepted, but declared that I must use her personal stores of tea and invited me back to her heavily guarded carriage. Her companion turned out to be an engineer by the name of Sinan Yahudi, who was more prisoner than companion as it turned out. Madame Volkova was his minder as much as his bodyguard. He had defected from the Ottoman Sultans to the Russian Tsar some years ago, and was the genius behind the rapid construction of the Trans-Siberian Railway. He seemed reluctant to talk of it, but I pressed him, and he attempted to explain how magnetic levitation functioned. I did not understand much of his explanation, but having seen it in action, I was inclined to think the entire enterprise utterly revolutionary. It is capable of much higher speeds when the electromagnets are engaged, he added, an unnerving thought, which would fester in days to come. The hour grew late, and I took my leave. Madame Volkova thanked me for entertaining her companion, and warned me to say nothing of what Monsieur Yahudi had told me to anyone, a smile that belied her light-hearted tone. A strange day. We are now well-heeled. Again. Let's converse. Greetings, Madame Volkova. Passepartout. Karamskaya. I am told Karamskaya is on junction for trains into China. Goodness! Vladivostok? Did you know some buyers will pay well for accordions from Vladivostok? That's fine. How about Beijing? On the subject of boats, I've heard one can sail from San Pedro to San Francisco. Oh, interesting. How about... I want to go to Lahore, that's south. San Francisco. Apparently some buyers will pay well for fur coats from San Francisco. Now, anyway, I imagine you can't fathom what drives someone like me. No, I can't. Passepartout, you are flattering me, but you do it well. Thanks. I'm told some buyers will pay well for fur coats from San Francisco. Yeah, you told me that. And how about... We know that all of these connect, right? How about San Francisco to Burlington? Remarkable. Okay. And how about Burlington to Atlanta? Now, you listen to me. Some buyers will pay well for accordions from Atlanta. Everyone wants accordions, it seems. Atlanta? Apparently some buyers will pay well for accordions from Atlanta. Yes, you told me that. Goodbye. San Francisco now goes to San Pedro. We don't have a way to cross the Pacific right now. So hopefully that, you know, changes shortly. There's little to report of the outside world, so a word today on Russian eating habits. More specifically, the Russian distaste for regular meal times. I met a fellow Frenchman today who said to me, "The Russian meal is a guide to the Russian character." I begged him to explain further, and he obliged me. The guiding principle of the national cuisine is that all dishes must be capable of being served at any time the eater feels disposed. He sacrifices his finer susceptibilities to his love of freedom. I resolved to keep this thought in mind on future approaches to the dining car. Our locomotive suppers are not triumphs of culinary art, they're at least signal examples of logistical achievement. Okay. Fog, good job. Oh, I missed him. We pulled into Karamskaya in the evening. From Karamskaya, it was possible to branch into the Chinese Eastern Railway to Beijing, so we disembarked on the platform. We hurried to find ourselves lodgings, knowing that once the evening fell, it would become bitterly, miserably cold. New routes discovered. Karamskaya, we can go south to Beijing and to Pyongyang. Let's set up the market. The accordion will sell well here. 900 pounds, let's do it. Iron ore. We're gonna just carry a slab of iron ore with us? Alright. So the thing is, we're probably going to get out of the... Unless we go up through Alaska, probably going to get out of the cold relatively soon. Gentleman's wardrobe. Do I have that? Yeah, let's... Get rid of this. Grab this. Cold climate set. I guess we can just grab some rock. Why not? And why not? I worry that maybe the ship ride across the Pacific will be super expensive. I'm not sure. This is just the generic market, by the way. One house. Okay. Our completed Russian costume should protect against the cold and help us negotiate times of Russian journeys. Right. After we leave Russia. What's the plan, though? What do we have? So we can go further on the train. We can go all the way to Vladivostok. Where can we go after that? Not far at all. Or we can go down to Beijing. Trans-Manchurian Express, tomorrow at 1. Or we can go to Pyongyang, tomorrow at 1. 580, 840. It's so much more cheaper down this way. Yeah, I think we'll do that. We're gonna go to Beijing. So, I know I just picked up the Russian stuff, but... You know? Ah, crap, we could've... Ah, dang it. Alright. So it's 1 o'clock, right? 1 p.m. when the train leaves for Beijing. There was no moon at Karamskaya, and not even a barking dog marred the silence of the luminous Siberian night. The only lit building bore the copper lily of the Artificers' Guild. I knocked at the back door, eager to find company to help pass the long cold night. Dwarf, long black hair, rogued lips, and thick brass goggles opened the door. I bowed and introduced myself as a foreigner to Karamskaya, looking for conversation. Welcome. Come in out of the cold, then. I'm Nadezhda Yefimova. We walked through the squalid corridor into a round room lit with bright electric lamps. The artificers sprawled on low sofas and greeted me with beery enthusiasm. A human form automaton ushered me to a seat and handed me a drink with mechanical precision. I accepted my drink with a grin, and the small gears of the automaton's face whirred to produce an answering smile. The hours passed quickly in good company, and we shared many outlandish tales. I complimented their hospitality, and Nadezhda clapped me on the arm. It's been a pleasure sharing our fire with you, Passpartout. She reached in a pocket and took out a copper medallion with the Artificer's lily stamped upon it. Take this, present it to any member of the Artificers' Guild, and they will be bound to offer you help. I thanked them for their generosity, and wended my way back through the dark streets of Karamskaya. A city lit only by the brightness of the stars and the pale, ethereal glow of the northern lights. Relations with Fogg have strengthened slightly. Nice. Alright, yeah, we got till 1. Let's explore. It took a few hours to explore, investigating the various options for how we might continue our journey. And found nothing. Alright, we're going to Beijing. We need to find a better route. Cold weather. This seems a bothersome experience, but the Russian costume should make things easier. Do we get plus health for this? I hope. Alright, let's go. Trans-Manchurian Express. We boarded a Chinese steam train at Karamirskaya Station. It was a smooth journey till we reached Zabakalsk, where there was a change of gauge from the Russian to the Chinese rail. It relieved the tedium of waiting. I attempted to better understand the mechanisms the engineers were using. They seemed to consist of hydraulic pumps intended to jump the train from one rail to the next, and I could not help but notice they were not stamped with an artificer's seal. Ooh. Fogg's fine, let's check the news. Beijing importing cattle influenza. Oh, that's not good. Bad cow, bad cow. We restarted our journey a few hours later, only for it to be yet again interrupted by Chinese customs officials at Manzhouli. They were as brusque as the Russian officials. Clearly the bonds of bureaucracy overrode those of nation. They stamped our papers with the square ivory seals, leaving a distinct red cinnabar mark. Hey, it's gaining health, so that's good. Let's converse. Greetings, Monsieur Lagarde. Good day, Monsieur. So let's talk about Beijing. I'm told they say Empress Cece prefers her automatons to be decorative. They say the Chinese make the most intricate clockwork machines. We need to find a way out of Beijing. We know it goes to Pyongyang. Let's see. Never mind that. The quickest way to Pyongyang from here is through Vladivostok. Yeah, we're not going that way. Can we go anywhere? Port Moresby? I have to go. Crap, we might get stuck over here. Actually, Beijing goes to... Where does it go to? It doesn't go to Pyongyang. Today we reached Mukden, famed for the Qin Imperial Palace. Alas, there was no time for exploration, for here our train divided, half going west to Pyongyang. Wait, what? West? The other half turning east to Beijing. That's east, right? I don't even know. Whatever. I gathered our bags as the train pulled into Beijing. Swaying with the weight, I collided with the Chinese woman seated in an aluminium spoke-wheeled chair, like a leaner, more maneuverable bath chair. A sleek little engine poked out from under the flaking leather seating. She said something sharp in an unfamiliar language. I responded in my native French. Little avail. I tried another language, this one harsher and more guttural, but equally baffling. Assalamu alaikum? I took a chance, but it was not to be. We continued in this fashion for some time until I offered for a process of mime to help her disembark, but she shook her head and pulled the brass-handled lever at her right side. The engine underneath her seat sputtered to life and lifted her wheelchair several inches into the air. Before my astonished eyes, she floated from the train to the platform and landed gently. She gave me a jaunty wave and motored away under her own power. I wondered what other wonders Beijing would hold. False passport could earn us well here. 270, that's it? Oh, thank you, Pacific timetable. That's what we need. Stetson hat. Part of the American wardrobe set. Yeah, let's get rid of this. Stetson hat, thank you. And this is what we need. This is going to be golden. So the European train table, we don't need that anymore. Put that here. What else don't we need? European carriage list. How much is that going to sell for us? £1, whatever. It's more just for the space. Pacific timetable and Caribbean timetable. We're holding on to this. Khartoum, I think we might have passed that already. Hooded gloves. Medallion. Alright. New routes discovered. Hong Kong to Yokohama. Yokohama to, where's that? Manila. Manila and Yokohama. Holy crap. To where? Honolulu? Keep going, I can't see. San Francisco and San Pedro or something? I'm not sure. Pyongyang to Yokohama. Vladivostok to Yokohama. Okay, now, thankfully, we don't need the bank. We're still good on funds. Let's explore. Urga to Beijing. Beijing to Hong Kong. There were no airships sailing across the Beijing sky, or any evidence of electrification, even in the richer areas, where a few exceptions to the rule might have been expected. However, I did see a few devices, animated metal and jade dragons, that perched on the gables of imperial buildings, breathing curls of steam vapor and flapping their enamel feather wings. Furthermore, I was lucky enough to catch a performance of the famed Sushi Opera, the cast consisting entirely of hydraulic elegances, automata by another name. I was told it was an ancient tradition, begun over 1,000 years ago by Huang Gun, an engineer who had made sushi wine pourers and musicians, dancing girls and acrobats for his emperor's court. True? Perhaps so, but the opera itself, my friends, it was a thing of great beauty. I forgot that the performers were fashioned from brass and iron, that their eyes were polished onyx, their lips were gently glazed porcelain. I saw only the purity of their movements. We were the guests of a Manchu court official who clearly believed us to be spies or troublemakers of some nature, despite my innocent expression, which was wearing rather false after so many international escapades. As we departed the auditorium, I made a polite inquiry about the Dowager Empress Sisi, who was a figure of near legend in the West. She is a modernizer. Emperor Tongzi is lucky to have her wisdom and counsel, he said, carefully avoiding any direct criticism of the emperor, who was rumored to be a feckless sort. We thanked our host and made our way back to our lodgings. A pair of opium addicts were slumped in an alley, faces blankly blissful despite the emaciation of their limbs. I saw the poison and rot at the heart of Beijing and wondered how long even such a grand structure could endure it. Dang. Alright, what's the plan? Beijing to Vladivostok? No, because we could have done that before. Beijing to Hong Kong, 290. Leaves in 3 days. This leaves tomorrow at 1. How expensive is that? 580? 290. Let's negotiate. Railway whistle from our railways man said should change their minds to do it. Oh, that's pretty expensive. But from Hong Kong, okay. From here we can go where? We can get to Japan. And from there we can get far, far away. So maybe that's better. Maybe that's better. You can discuss the departure? What do we need to discuss? Negotiate. This is fine time. 580 though, huh? That is expensive. But 340 and 2, but it's, yeah, I think that's a better deal. Still a better deal. Whoops. Whoops! I don't want to quit. What am I doing? So I think that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna end it here. And when we come back, we'll stay at the hotel overnight next time in the next episode. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.